All right, studio is live. Mic's up. It's a lovely Thursday morning, 22nd July 2021. Smooth 98.1 Love Music, Love Life.
Yes, with Myra Essay.
And Valentine Ohu. It's
Good
time
morning.
for today's edition of Freshly Pressed 981. Detailed analysis of the national news headline stories. And to help us analyze the stories this morning, we have the gentleman, Ugo Dre. Morning, Ugo. How are you today?
Morning, Ayo. Morning, Valentine.
You look like Monday.
Yeah.
Fresh Monday.
It's the day after the meat fest.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
I can imagine him looking like a Monday. It does feel like a Monday.
Yeah, it does.
A weekend.
Weekend, exactly.
Yes.
Weekend within a week.
Because I'm lobbying for Godre's jackets, guys. Please support that lobby.
I'll have the pockets full.
Failed lobbies.
All right, let's get into business. So today we're going to be looking at the stories. You can be a part of the conversation. We're streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos.
All right. We have stories, interesting stories to go through. WhatsApp is 0809-444-0981. Please send those messages with your observations and comments. 0809-444-0981. Our first story, Godre. Representatives panel recommends arrest warrants on Emefiele, Kiari, and others as the Committee on Public Accounts. They prayed the House of Representatives to issue warrants of arrest on the Governor of the Central Bank, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Emefiele, the sole administrator of the Niger Delta Development Commission, and the chairman of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. They said they had asked them to come and defend their positions during the public hearing, and they refused. What are your thoughts, please?
Firstly, interesting that the title of the article started with, had Emefiele and Kiari's name there. It had to just draw your attention, right? But on a more serious note, so what the reps panel are basically asking for is what you would expect from government officials or from parastatals. Just publish your audited accounts, and I think it's pretty responsible that you have government ministries or agencies of government don't have audited accounts for years, and there are a lot of them like that. You go to their website, you don't even see anything. Non-functional website. You don't know how much revenue they're actually making or how they're spending money. It's not just there, and I think that I to an extent I agree with what the House of Reps are doing. Now, whether these are empty threats is a different thing, because we've seen things like this before. I'm sure if you just go do a little bit of a Google search, you see headlines like this over the years. It typically happens, but how they flow through is what I don't know. But it's just embarrassing that you have agencies like I think you mentioned NIMASA, even the CBN. The CBN, I think before Emefiele had a culture of typically publishing their audited accounts. I think at about August, September or so. The year after, so like if the year ends in December, by August of next year you have the audited accounts. But since 2017 or so, since we had this forex crisis, the first one we had, they stopped doing that. You don't even see it at all on their website. I think they do audits, but you don't see it at all on their website. But there are some MDAs, Valentine, that you don't even see anything. It's just a complete dark hole. You don't know what they're doing. You don't see the revenues, how they're spending the money, how much they're generating, how efficient they are. You can't see it. And I think the responsibility of the House of Reps and their panels is to usually check these things on our behalf, and then let us know how well government expenditure has been utilized.
Basic accountability, not too much.
Yes, basic. And it's just a shame. Even fun, it's most of them, non-Nigerian Board of Electricity. I mean, and there's so many of them out there, so many parastatals. So people are just feeling fat. I mean, like, tell us how, and a lot of these parastatals are actually revenue generating.
Yes.
So
yes,
now. So the revenue generating. How are you spending it? Where is it? How many employees do you have? What do you spend your money mostly on? Do you understand? And then who are the people that you generate? I mean, people need to know these things.
And it's important for people to recognize the fact that it's not just about asking people to show your records, right? We know that based on business strategies or operations, things change. There are variables that occur, and I also affect the downline, or the bottom line rather.
Exactly.
So if a staff left, how many staff were let go? circumstances change, economic
Yeah.
situation, all those changes, how did they affect your bottom line, and how much money are you making now as against the last time you probably showed a report?
And the funny thing is that if you
Yeah.
demand this from publicly quoted companies, every publicly quoted company in Nigeria today is expected to publish their audited accounts.
Every year.
Yes,
Mm.
every year.
Mm.
In fact, by April, done. Right. So, nonetheless, MDA is where the Constitution requires that you do it.
Which means if you fail to do it, it's a criminal offense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the big question for me, Ugo, is, so they've recommended and prayed the House of Reps to issue warrants of arrest. When or is this going to happen?
I don't know. Like I said, if you do a simple Google search, you see that things like this have happened before. And then, like some people will say, some in quote cynics will tell you that money don't change hand. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Who's
But
gonna bail the cat?
after some time, you just don't hear anything again.
All right, so CBN is back in the news. Second story, CBN is being called into the story because the stakeholders in the telecommunications sector have said that mobile money services should be driven by telecoms companies. Their reason is that it's going to slow things down if they follow the new CBN model.
I'm trying to be very careful here because this is a very thorny subject, right? So basically, what the association of telcos are saying is, look, allow us drive mobile money penetration in the country because you have, according to them, a lot more people with mobile phones or phone numbers compared to bank accounts. So if the CBN, the CBN's objective of achieving financial inclusion, you know, to at least maybe 90%, you can only achieve that through mobile phones. That's basically the argument. And so they want to be in charge. They want to lead that charge. But the CBN is saying, hold on a minute, no, all right. So we have a two-pronged approach. There is the banks, right? So the banks, that's their responsibility. That's one of the primary licenses they have. So they will lead that charge, and then others, which is non-banks, and I'm guessing fintechs and even mobile operators. And so, the banks will lead, you will follow. And the telcos are saying, no, we should lead and, let others follow because we have the network infrastructure and the spread. So if you look at it on surface, it will seem like they've got a point. And of course, they also reference M-Pesa in Kenya and how successful that was, right, compared to Nigeria, right? And of course, they've achieved a lot with mobile phone penetration. But there's a lot more to it. And when you dig down, deep dive and research, you find out that first of all, the Nigerian financial system is actually one of the most sophisticated in the world.
Yes.
If there's something that we really got right, is our financial system, like our ability to transfer money from one place to another in seconds. There are very few countries that can do that, relying on a banking system. So it was possible in Kenya because, of course, they didn't have the kind of sophisticated banking network that we have. So the mobile operators, it was easier for them to do it. But here, it's different. So the infrastructure exists, right? What is difficult? The challenge that you're having is just people not willing to open bank accounts, and some of this thing, also refers to the very stringent KYC requirements that the CBN themselves imposed. So extra charges and things like that. So that's just why people don't want to, go in there. So if you look at both sides, I think that the CBN is right to a large extent, and I think it's okay for them to also protect a lot of the investments that banks and even they themselves have put over the years. Now, because if you allow the telcos, and I'm sure a lot of my telco friends will be like, what the hell are you saying? If you allow the telcos get in here, right, they're just gonna, they could just chance everybody. You know what I mean? So and there's also revenue protection here as well. People who have invested need to have their their investment protected. And if you listen to some banks, they will tell you, okay, give us mobile license to let us also be the telcos. And where does this end? Like, are you going to come into our stuff? Like, have you finished sorting out the issues you have with your mobile telephony? Is internet that good? We still have a lot of drop calls. Why don't you focus on ensuring that your network service is a lot better. Why are you basically coming into my space because you think it's easy, right? So that's basically the argument, and the CBN's responsibility is basically to balance these things out. And like I said, there's been a lot of investments in infrastructure over the years, and it's going to be difficult for the CBN to just cede that to to non-banks or telcos and have them drive it. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I like how you balance the analysis, because I was thinking the first talk would be the money, sorry, the number metrics isn't enough to to balance the arguments, given that by 2019 bank accounts, number of bank accounts are recorded in Nigeria was 79.3 million compared to 187.9 million
More than
mobile
double.
phone users.
More than double.
This
No,
year.
they're actually over 100 million bank accounts.
Yeah,
What
I
you
mean-
have is, if you now limit it to BVN alone, right, uniques, so you're probably looking at less than 70 or so. Yeah, and likewise telcos as well. I
Same
mean,
with
yeah.
telcos. So is there a middle ground? Because this is a very important conversation to have. It's a challenge between efficiency and just fairness, especially to, like you mentioned, investors. It's interesting they mentioned the Kenya Safaricom M-Pesa, because we talked about this here, about how it was actually a big deal as well for the central bank in Kenya, saying that the telcos have taken over.
Yes.
And that is so
They're
even-
complaining as well.
Yeah, so even
Yeah.
if it worked for them, but it's at a detriment to banks in Kenya, and
Yeah.
that's what the CBN is trying to avoid.
Correct.
Now, can we have a middle ground where they both work together?
Because they lean on each other.
Exactly,
For
so-
services.
Yeah, so that's the middle ground that the CBN has basically laid out, right? CBN has said, look, the middle ground is, well, we will grant you licenses, but you have to play to our rules. So we're not saying we're not going to grant you license, but we'll grant you licenses. That's fine. But the telcos are saying, yeah, but we want to lead. Like, we want to be like in
But
the
while
forefront.
you lead, are you willing to
Yeah,
come under our
exactly. So
regulatory-
CBN is saying no, like right on our, there's an infrastructure existing already, and you need to understand something. And I think your point was very clear. And in Kenya, if you talk to authorities, the CBN guys, they will tell you clearly that they made a huge mistake, right, by allowing the telcos, push forward, because what it means is that they don't have a strong hold on the financial system and the workings of money, unlike here in Nigeria. Like, there's hardly any naira that passes through the banking system that the CBN does not track, and that's because they've invested along with the banks in payment infrastructure over the last few years. So whether it's NIBSS, like NIBS, or a lot of all these channels that you have, they're all right through the bank, from the likes of InterSwitch to Flutterwave to all these guys. They're all right on the infrastructure that the CBN and the banks have built, right? So allowing telcos to do that is just a different. I'm beside, how many telcos do you have really that are very strong?
Exactly.
I don't want to name names, but probably maybe one or two.
So half.
It's important. You make a very valid point, Ugo, and thanks for that, Ayo. Because it's important for the financial system of the country to be controlled or handled better.
Okay, so two comments here. I've got one for and one against. Yinka says, I feel like fighting Ugo Dream. Which
Sorry.
financial system is the most sophisticated in the world? I have to agree with you, Ugo. and Yinka, sorry, I disagree with you.
Yinka
Because
research
even
says
in the
it,
UK, yes, even in the UK, Nigerian banking system is almost more seamless than it is there, because we get our statements across through notifications, etc. How it takes forever to reverse failed transactions, and to make matters worse, you enter the bank to ask for new mints, they tell you they. All those mints have you start about where do they come from? All right, Otunuga says the middle ground of mobile money business is to maintain status quo, no justification for telcos to be the main driver. And then Emeka from Bagara Phase 2 says, good listening to Ugo. Are you guys into financial analysis? Good always, nice listening. Yeah, so it's both. This is making the headlines. It's a big deal. And sometimes we cross into different health, financial, education, politics. Yeah, so thank you very much.
It's freshly
Emeka.
pressed.
Exactly.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ugo Dre. This next story from this day in newspaper, the headline reads, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, otherwise called NGE, they've said that Nigerian journalists, especially its members, are not terrorists or bandits' best friends, as alluded by the NBC in their directive. And they say it's against the wicked insinuation by the NBC, National Broadcasting Commission, and so will never be disposed to giving the bloodthirsty criminals any exposure. And this is in reaction to the directive issued by the Nigerian Broadcast Commission, saying that newspaper reviews and current affairs programs need to observe caution in the way they report certain activities of terrorists and kidnappers?
Yeah, thanks, Val. Very important, discourse and important response by the NG. The only issue I have is trying to, like, how do you sort of convey this kind of response without trying to also sound a bit like the others. And when I mean like the others is different commentators who tend to usually make things look more than they seem. So, for example, was it really a warning? Was it really a directive, or was it guidance? Like, what's the right language here, to use, right? In terms of guide, if it was termed a guidance, right, then you can say, okay, it's just a guidance. So you're not, basically ordering me to or trying to gag how I report stories. You're just giving me a guidance. Okay, that's fine. But what I see here is a lot of distrust, and a lot of distrust between the media and their regulators. And you really can't blame the media, because the regulators over the years have sort of shown their hand, like we usually say. So people are not really sure when they make statements, because a statement like this is not something new. It's not some, when I mean new, especially in this in even more advanced parts of the world. You've seen where they've often told media that you got to be careful with your reporting, don't try to overhit the policy, don't try to make things seem more than what they are. We can guide you, but nobody's going to guide you. All they do is just sort of guide. But here, because government officials have are known to often be very reckless, right? When they even say guide, they probably mean warn and things like that. So there's that distrust. So that's why you see a lot of media organizations come out immediately to draw the line and to make noise, because we've experienced, yeah, government basically try to stifle media in this country. That experience is still fresh in a lot of people's memories. We've seen a lot of journalists being killed basically because of things like this. So I think to the story itself, it's important that the NGO also mentioned that, look, their job is not to come and fan flames. Their job is to basically report, and they are also not friends of terrorists. So they are not also trying to sensationalize stories and things. They're just reporting stories as they see it, right? But exactly. So, but don't come and start to tell us, our job basically. So, it's both sides wanting the same thing, but and I'm saying this as a neutral. It's both sides wanting the same thing, but it's just how are you, conveying it, and who do we trust? Like when you tell me, I'm guiding caution. Are you warning me?
Because yes, it's important. I like the choice of words, right? The simple reason is NBC and the media are supposed to be one and the same, and we've enjoyed a good relationship over the years.
Yeah.
Until recently, when we started seeing the Minister of Information meddling into the affairs of the NBC, that's meant to act as a regulator of the media. And I like that you use guidance, because if somebody is guiding you on the street, you stop to ask for directions. They'll give you specifics. They'll tell you, if you go down this Amici close, turn left or right, depending on where you're going to, which is what the NBC, based on the way they are constituted, have been doing and is supposed to do. Tell you, okay, this is how you... Because they mentioned this in one of the paragraphs here in the story. It said, when you say constitute too many details, glamorizing. First of all, the word glamorizing and address to the press almost insinuates that the press are friendly with the terrorists, and like to peddle this news. But we know that there are some members of the media that are reckless in their reporting, right? Maybe based on clickbaits that they're looking for and stuff like that. But specifically saying, oh, if you have flouted these rules, here are things that you should avoid, which is what NBC regularly does. They refer you to certain codes in the NBC code and say, oh, you need to abide by this, try to avoid this and that, and then do this way. But if you fail to do this, this is the punishment. Not giving a blanket ban.
I don't. Was it really a ban?
It was.
Ugo, let me just say that. But let me just give a quote from the NGA. History has revealed time and again that efforts to increase security through the clampdown of liberty and freedom have threatened both liberty and security.
Fine. Same NGE here. Like, and this is the kind of paragraph that I look at and say it's just pure distrust, Valentine, no matter how you look at it.
That's right.
Here it says, we hope it is not a ploy we hope it is not a ploy by the NBC to ban newspaper review. That's just pure distrust. So it's not that, look, you're not making sense or we don't get what you're saying, but you know what? We're basically speaking from the position of your track record, and like you said, meddling of politicians into regulations. So are you coming from the back door to try and tell us? I think this is really what it is. It's just pure distrust, and
Looking
it's
to grab
unfortunate.
the media that brought you into power in the first place. Anyway.
So just to mention, thank you so much, Kunle from Abuja. He sent the 10 countries ranked by real-time payments transaction, and Nigeria is at number 6, above the United States, above Japan, and just one line down the United Kingdom. So just to corroborate your story. Oh no, okay, no,
All right, let's touch on this story now. Despite aggressive revenue drive, the federal government suffers 1.4 trillion naira shortfall. You know, some headlines that you see like this, particularly as it's published on the Punch, you feel like you've seen it before. It seems so familiar.
Yeah,
What's in
we're
it?
broke. I mean, like,
Please let me put that side by side, and that's why I wanted you to take the headline
Yes,
first. Side
yes.
by side, this EIU
you
report.
report.
Our federal government may raise VAT to 15% before 2025 because
Yes.
we need to generate revenue. I just want to get EIE is the European
Intelligence unit,
economics,
yeah. It's
sorry,
economics intelligence unit,
intelligence
yeah.
unit in London, and they're predicting that based on and tying that to this story as to we don't have money, but I'm going to tax you more.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
even this-
yeah.
you
He
saw this
always
coming.
has very gloomy reports, by the way. But I mean, I think that 'cause this MTEF, what they're quoting here, actually came out earlier in the month, and to shock you, we are already doing 98% in terms of debt service to revenue ratio.
That's every
So
out
we-
of every 100 naira, we spend
98
it's paying
naira
back
on,
debts.
on paying back debt, and that's just how precarious government revenue is at the moment. And I mean, it's pretty clear why it's like this. Oil prices, even though they've gone up, Nigeria is still running on a quota, right? And there's also, I was speaking to somebody in the oil and gas sector over the weekend, and we're talking about this new oil OPEC decision to sort of increase output, and he was like, look, it's not going to be immediate for Nigeria, and that's because we still need to do a lot of investment to even ramp up
Capacity.
output. So the government fiscal side of the government is very, very bad, Valentine, and that means a lot for this country. Like, it just means that the government will continue to borrow its way out, except they want to have a crisis in their hand, which is not being able to pay salaries or not being able to fulfill the mandate of the government. So if the major sources of government revenue, and I also like to tie this to the previous story as well, where you have parastatals not declaring revenues, and there's revenue leakages all over the
Yeah.
place. Oil is not doing well. We're not exporting as much as we can. Even non-oil exports are also not doing well. What's left? Taxes now, right? Taxes. And you see, I think it was the FIRS chairman who came the other day and said they made how much billion or so in taxes.
In a month.
Yeah, because now that's the only thing. So they're going to aggressively tax companies a lot more. You would see a lot of mistakes. So a company that is making how much, maybe 50 million, they want to tax you 40 million. They will give you all sorts of best of judgment tax taxes to come and pay based on checking your bank account. A lot of errors. I mean, if you've run a company before, you probably see all those things. And
Yeah.
this is why these things happen, right? Because government revenue is so badly hit, they will look for various means to try to tax you, and they will send you all sorts of letters. And it's not just the federal. You see the states. They start to come
I
at
just
you.
want to say and ask you, Ugo, is it fair that we are putting the burden on the citizens, yet we still keep complaining about an over-bloated government? Someone's asking Adeola on WhatsApp that do senators and rep members pay tax? And I can understand this question, even though it's very obvious, of course, income
Yes.
tax. Because we just see that you're saying you don't have money.
And
It's
then
like you going to ask your father for school fees. He said he doesn't have money, but every night he declares for the boys. How do you believe that he can't pay your school fees or look after the family? Or your
I
parents?
agree 100%. I agree 100%, and that's the sad situation, because despite this, precarious, level of government revenues, if you read that article, you still see that we still spent the full recurrent expenditure,
Yes.
like the one that we spend on salaries and co.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
because
wasn't affected.
you actually have a very bloated government, and that's why to an extent, I sort of supported Rail Fry back then when we were having an argument, because you've got to be able to cut cost at the federal level.
And plug the leakages.
Yes, if you most importantly, plug those leakages.
All right, let's move on very quickly to our next story. Benin rejects Igboho's hasty extradition. Lawyers write Germany to stop moves. So the Republic of Benin has resisted Nigeria's attempt to hastily extradite the Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho, to the headquarters of the Department of State Services. We've talked about how he was, his house was raided, and then consequently he tried to flee, in quotes, from the DSS, and they caught him in Benin Republic by the secret police. They say they have to go through due process because the world is watching. And the first thing I thought was, why is it that until the world is watching before we do what is right? But it's a very lengthy article with different perspectives, and also touches on the protests in Ibadan, London, and Benin Republic. Please take us through your take.
Just to do this quickly, I think that what the Benin Republic government is doing, I think is the right thing. If you have an extradition treaty with the country, then it's just right that due process is followed, right? So that you don't have the same thing that happened in Kenya, where Kenyan authorities were like, we don't know what happened. Some other guys were saying we knew what happened. So and the truth really is that the way Interpol works, if you don't, if the government does not step, its foot, they will do what they need to do to risk you out. That's basically Interpol. And so that the Benin government is stepping in and allowing the due process to function, I think it's fine. Even though some of us think that the Nigerian government is just too powerful, for the Benin government, and likely that they might pull this through, depending on how well or how badly the lawyers of some people argues. In terms of a lot of the sentiments that I've seen, it's neither here nor there. I mean, people will be for and people will be against, right? So I don't think if we start this argument today, I don't think we'll finish. So
Freshly during Lagos talks, we can have that argument for and against. But isn't it ironic actually that the ambassador to Benin Republic is Lieutenant General Director Buratai, who is the immediate chief? When I said, I was like, sorry for you, Ibo. I don't know how you can get out of it.
I mean, anyway,
Abayomi Akarakiri says, I'm not sure Nigeria wants Sunday back in the country. He committed forgery and he attracts 22 years imprisonment in Benin. He should stay there for now. All right, let's go on to our next story. Nigeria, UAE to track illegal gold trade, according to the Minister of Mines and I'm trying to look for that. Mr. Adegbite is his name. Yeah, Mines and Steel Development. Yes, he announced this yesterday that they're working with the United Arab Emirates, that Nigerians take our gold abroad and they're not receiving see this money.
I read this article and I was like, this is just such a big shame. Like, you're not even ashamed of yourself. Like, people leave your own country with raw gold to UAE. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't track it. Then you're not telling UAE, when they hit your country, catch them for me. And then we'll share the revenue.
Are they admitting that our borders are porous?
Exactly, and that's the leakage that we're speaking to. Who allowed them pass? All this. I mean, we all know what this means. You know what I mean? That's part of what we're saying, and it's all these leakages that we see. So you allow people like this get away with it, and then when they get there, start to make noise. Oh, if I was UAE government, please just do your own stuff, man. Don't.
All right, so I think the hashtag we're living with today is who allowed them pass.
I love it. There's a message here from Karen Giwa. Good morning, Karen. He says, leakages. Plug-in leakages alone will significantly improve the country's finances. Losses from fraud and informal sector are huge.
So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karim. And thanks to everyone who sent in messages in the course of the show. We look to take some of them and new comments and calls during Lagos Talks 91, which will be in exactly 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Ugo Dre, for coming today. As always, great conversation and analysis from you.
You can leave the jacket.
And the pocket square. Yeah. All right. We'll see you in
Shirt,
10
right?
Oh,
my guys.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Let me run.
All right.